welcome back to another video, and today we are going to be looking at a scenario where all of Asia disappeared. So by that I mean any country that is majority in Asia except for this half of Papua New Guinea, of the island of New Guinea. No idea why I didn't color that out, but that includes all of Russia, including Kaliningrad, and all of Turkey, including their part in Thrace, in the Balkans. So first things first, the power dynamic in this world is gone. It's gone, okay? The United States and their European allies rule the world. Yes, they've lost Japan, they've lost South Korea, but their two main enemies, Russia and China, have also both disappeared, so they do not need the help anymore. What's that gonna mean? Well, it's gonna mean that the world is a whole lot more American. Like, a lot more. Africa, a lot of these countries are being influenced by China. Yeah, not anymore. Now it's you either team up with Europe or you team up with the US, but there is no more teaming up with China. See how these countries are now dying? I'm not saying that they solely rely on Chinese investments, but I am saying that it definitely helps. Like, a lot. So we're gonna be seeing a few unions starting off to begin with. First things first, I'm gonna be uniting the United States and Canada to form the North American superstate. Why would they do this if the US is already the most powerful country? Well, because the US only wants to get stronger. They do not want anyone to contest their influence, and with Europe relying on them for oil, with no Russia or Middle East anymore. And that's also a good point. I almost forgot to talk about this, but the world economy is gone. Like, it's not just those African countries that I mentioned that are losing. It's everyone. The United States, now by far the world's strongest country, no real major competitors. Yeah, their beautiful economy from real life, their amazing life per person, that's gone. It's just gone. I mean, America may say that they're the most powerful country in the world, but even they rely on China. And if China disappeared, then the US would most definitely suffer. And I don't care what American tells me what, the USA cannot exist without China, at least not as well as they do in real life. What's going to happen from here? Well, a bunch more unions because everyone's dying and nobody actually wants to die. What's the next one? Well, it's going to be a union between Mauritania and Mali that is going to accept a few other members. That is the original union, but soon enough Guinea, well, they don't even want to join, but they fall. Their country falls to absolute chaos. Same thing with Sierra Leone. They're just pretty much free land now. And Burkina Faso just dies. These countries, I mean, Europe and the US can no longer send any aid because all is necessary for themselves, so they're left on their own agenda. And I know how much Africa wants to say that they're fine on their own, but their economic situation is bad enough. Without trading, at least not a lot, with the EU and the USA, their economies are gonna get even worse. Yeah, it's not gonna look great. But hey, this union that started off between Mauritania and Mali is now just expanded into the West African Federation. What other federations are there in Africa? Well, you guessed it, the East African Federation. Between Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, and Tanzania. South Sudan wants in, but sadly for them, the EAF tells them to screw off because they don't want South Sudan in their alliance. Which isn't now just an alliance, it is now an actual country. And South Sudan would probably just make things worse. No offense, but I doubt I have anyone who watches from there. Who also expand all over here in Europe, we're going to see a few unions forming up. Even those beautiful economies of European countries are suffering quite badly. And Benelux is going to decide to go together. Germany and Austria will finally be allowed to unite. And that's one major European power. France, Poland, good luck. From there, the North Balkan Confederation is going to form up between Croatia, Slovenia, and Bosnia, mainly because the Serbs that lived in Bosnia are starting to get some ideas about rebelling, and Serbia started supporting them, so they decided better to be with Croatia than to be under Serbia. What's Serbia going to say to this? I'm going to invade Kosovo, and what's the rest of the Balkans going to do about that? They're going to tell them no, Serbia's going to invade Kosovo, they're going to lose, and then they're going to lose some land. Not a whole lot. This wasn't the most major of major wars. But they're definitely going to lose some land to practically all of their neighbors, because in the beginning nobody wanted to see Serbia expand. And now they attempted to expand, so now they will be punished for attempting to expand. The Balkan, I guess, what do you even call it? Just the Balkan powers say no. They tell Serbia, hey, you want to become super strong? We're just going to make some other countries even stronger so that you can't do that. Actually, no, let's not make them lose that land. So they're going to lose some land to Bulgaria, and they're going to lose some land to the Northern Balkan Confederation. But overall, you know, they're fine. Yes, they've lost some land, but I think the main thing they lost here is Kosovo itself. Actually, I'm going to give them back a bit of this land. So yeah, not great for you, Serbia, but you're alive. You're alive, okay? What else can you really hope for? From there, Germany and Benelux are basically going to say, okay, Europe, time to unite. And everyone does this, but now the European Union is a country. Yeah, that is... Well, if this happened in real life, that would be the third most powerful country economically, but now they are the second. Like, without a doubt. Even with the loss in economy, that's for everybody. Nobody is safe. The Baltics do the same and decide to unite, but this still might not be enough, so they might have some issues in the future. As for the Balkans, what else is going to happen? Well, Bulgaria might get some ideas. Don't know much about their exact political stance in real life, but they're kind of mad. Their economy is taking a much bigger loss than some people surrounding them. Romania and Greece basically said, screw you, Bulgaria. And, well, they kind of made not an alliance against Bulgaria, but a pact that says, okay, we're going to take advantage of Bulgaria and they can do nothing about it. And Bulgaria says they can do something about it and takes over North Macedonia. They then, They then invade Serbia and take over the south and tell Romania and Greece to suck it. And then Romania and Greece are just gonna go ahead and do a little bit of declaring wars. And I'm not gonna show the entire war, but it's gonna end in a Bulgarian victory. How is that gonna happen? Well, Bulgaria is gonna start to militarize again. Yeah, Europe, watch out. When Bulgaria does this, Germany's normally next, and now they're in a massive alliance. Not even an alliance, a union. So yeah, Bulgaria is going to take this opportunity to expand themselves into the Balkan power. No longer being forced to share that spot with other powers that do not like them. My God, come on, I have to get that right. There's the river there, the Danube. It goes something like that. That's obviously a terrible way of putting it, but you know what? It'll just have to do. They're also going to take all of Macedonia and Eastern Thrace and Western Thrace from the Greeks. So yeah, Bulgaria, you've finally taken up your title as the Prussia of the Balkans, and I definitely didn't just do this because I like how these borders look. Definitely not. From there, the new Croat state, well, they're going to do fine. As for the European Union, they are going to be expanding. Both the Czech Republic and Slovakia decide that, hey, we're dying, they can save us, let's join them. And with that, I'm going to get away from Europe for a second, but things are definitely still happening here. Bulgaria taking control of the Balkans, and the EU expanding. Back to the Americas. What's going to happen? Well, Venezuela feels very scared. They have nobody left to protect them. So the US may go down there and do some things, and yeah, Venezuela's going to die. How are they going to die? Well, Colombia's going to take some of the land, especially some down there to connect themselves up. And Brazil's going to take some of the land, and the rest of it's turned into a new democratic Venezuela, and definitely not a puppet regime under the US. No. Why would you ever think it would be a puppet regime under the US? Definitely not. And the US is definitely not using all of the oil that Venezuela has at very low prices. No, why would you ever think that America would do that? No. As for the rest of the Americas, well, they're all dying as well. Central America isn't the best spot in real life, and it just got a whole lot worse here. So, originally it was just the Central American Union, and now that's gonna turn into Big Mexico. I do this a lot, but that's because a lot of these countries, without some trade, except for Costa Rica and Panama, they're gonna get some support from the US because the US can't help themselves but help these countries. They also can't help themselves from invading Cuba, which they now do, and Cuba is now the 51st state. Yeah, that should explain it. So USA taking control, EU trying to rival them, and Africa uniting to exist. What's Europe gonna do now? Well, America's going kind of imperialist here. The US is, they're still democratic, but yeah, there's no way this would happen in real life. Although, to be fair, I highly doubt that all of Asia will just sink into the bottom of the ocean overnight. So, take any realism out of this before you even start watching it. Colombia's big. Very big. I like that, Colombia. Colombia, probably wouldn't do this, but you're gonna get Ecuador and some of northern Peru now. Peru, civil war, blah, blah, blah. Colombia gets land. Mostly because I want to bring back Gran Colombia. USA says, hey, Colombia, if you definitely don't not give me access to the not definitely Venezuelan oil fields, you can have the entire country. And Colombia agrees. So now the US has a ton more oil, and what did you expect? They're the United States of America. From there, Colombia is going to continue to expand into a bit of a northern South American power. From there, Peru and Bolivia are going to say, okay, we're dying, and unite. Chile's going to want more coastline, but I don't think they can defeat this, so they're not going to do anything. And Argentina might go a bit imperialist, but Brazil would have some more issues in that sector. As for the Europeans, well, they say, hey, how come the US gets to expand? How come they can take over Cuba, but we can't go back? And France says, you know what? I want Algeria. So they get it. Now this is Europe again. And then all the other African powers basically tell France to get off their continent, mainly starting with Morocco and the Western African Union. France says no, and then Egypt, Nigeria, and South Africa, along with the EAF, all tell France to get off the continent, and then France says no. So pretty much everyone in Africa just says, France, get off our continent. And now everyone's just declaring war on France. They might actually win this, but they're gonna get involved. They're gonna get involved. Everyone wants to finish this. No African power really wants France to get back onto their continent. Kind of want to put Ethiopia back in, but putting Ethiopia and Egypt on the same team just doesn't seem right. It just doesn't feel right. Who would get involved? Boop, 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 boop. And yeah, everyone here is just saying, France, get off our continent. And then France is going to say, screw you. And then Africa is going to say, screw you back, and then say it even harder. And now France is getting pushed off the continent. They get cut off from the coastline, and all of the Sahara falls. From there, Africa tells France, hey, our economies are falling. Why not just force France to give us a bunch of money? So that's exactly what they do. So now Algeria is back on the map, and France is sad because they lost a bunch of money, and they are no longer allowed to go imperialist. What does that mean? Well, that means they're going to join the EU now. The French economy is now suffering from this war, and how are they going to fix that? Just unite with a bigger power. Alright, what else is going to happen? Well, Africa's pretty happy with themselves for kicking a European imperialist power off the continent. So they're going to get some imperialist ideas themselves. How's this going to go? Well, Ethiopia decides they need a coastline. And Djibouti and Eritrea are kind of already dying. Well, in this scenario, they're just dead. They're just done. I kind of like that, though. I can just say that because this happened and everyone's just dying. Wow, that came out really wrong. But the point is, the world is suffering. And a few countries are really taking advantage. As for the US, well, their influence is widespread. They control almost all of the Americas. Wow, literally like 2 countries in the Americas. And in Africa, well, they got nothing in Africa. As for the European zone of influence, wow. And then for the African Union, a new alliance which forms up between the West African Federation, Algeria, Egypt, and Libya, the North African Federation. This may eventually expand into a new African Union, but for now it's just between these countries, as a few of them just don't want to get involved, including mainly being stopped by the Ethiopians. So yeah, I mean, they're responding how you'd expect them to, expanding and killing everyone else to save themselves. What's going to happen from there? Well, the U.S. tells Mexico, trade with us or we'll make you trade with us. Mexico says no. The U.S. invades, and Mexico is now... Well, luckily for them, no, this is an imperialist USA we're talking about. Who are we kidding? They're going to take some land. They're going to take all of northern Mexico away from the Mexicans and force them to trade with them, basically putting into effect a puppet regime. Sorry, Mexico, but you were doing well there for a second, and now the U.S. just controls your entire country. I mean, on the bright side, the U.S. will decide to invest heavily into the new Mexican infrastructure. And now with the U.S. on your side, you can integrate Costa Rica and Panama. Yay. Actually, no, not Panama. Will that go to Gran Colombia or the New Mexican state? Let's give it to Gran Colombia. They're both U.S. allies, and they're both probably not definitely, absolutely for sure, gonna give the U.S. access to the Panama Canal. Including military. Including the transportation of military. From there, the U.S. is gonna say that the Caribbean should all be American, and this all just gets a whole lot more American. Okay, what's gonna happen from here? Oceania is suffering. Papua New Guinea and what's left of Indonesia are taken over by Australia. And Americans, I know you're gonna like this, but now this is no longer Oceania. Everything here is just Australia. The Aussies have done it. Except for the fact that there's an emu rebellion, the emus take over the world. So yeah, this is incredibly secluded, except for the fact that you can just go around this way. But if you ignore that fact, that is quite far away from everything without Asia there. What are they going to do about that? Well, there's definitely not going to not be an emu uprising in Australia that's going to take over the entire region. Definitely not. As for Africa, well, they're going to keep doing what Africa does best. Actually, what is that? I was going to say imperialism, but that's kind of the other continent's thing. Well, they're going to do a new kind of imperialism, African imperialism, and South Africa is going to be the main front runner. Although, honestly, would anyone actually be mad at them if they took over Lesotho and Eswatini? I think people would be happy about that because look at that on a map. It's beautiful. Okay. Moving on, in South America, Guyana and Suriname are dead. French Guyana is now part of the EU, and the EU decides they need more land. How are they going to do that? Well, they're going to buy this land, and now they hold a border with a U.S. ally. Relations aren't terrible, but they're suffering. As for the Nordics, well, a new Kalmar Union has been into effect. Finland doesn't join yet, but it is expected that they will within the next 10 years. For now, it is just between Sweden, Norway, and Denmark, and Iceland, and Greenland if you count it. Ireland joins the EU. As for the Balkans, what's going to happen in the Balkans? I kind of did a whole Bulgaria thing. So yeah, let's just make everything Bulgarian. Are we going to do that? Well, first things first, Romania is going to unite with Moldova. And Belarus has no Russia to save them, so they're going to be divided up. Poland's going to get some land into Belarus, whilst the rest of it is split between Ukraine and the Baltic states. Ukraine gets some land, but a lot of it does go to the Baltics, who really need it and push to get it, along with them being of quite a minor power, so nobody actually cares about them getting land. As for Poland, well, until now, they've been refusing to join the EU. Same thing with Ukraine. They actually end up forming their own alliance between Poland, the Baltics, Ukraine, and Romania. Call it the anti-EU pact, the anti-Nordic pact, the anti-Bulgarian League, but it's there. Who else is going to expand? Well, we've been talking about them a lot, but the EU, they now have a border with the US, and they have to get stronger. How are they going to do that? Well, they're going to say Spain, yeah, you're ours now. And Portugal's going to join them willingly. Spain, they had a vote, and it may or may not have been 46% saying yes, and normally it'd be 54. Let's say 51% saying no, and everyone else just said random stuff. Well, the EU might just say, no, you got those confused. 51% said yes, okay, you're with us now, and Spain didn't really have a choice. As for Italy, a similar thing happens, except they're a bit more willing, after seeing some of the things that happened with France and in Spain. From there, a lot of North Africa is actually going to unite, as once again, people dying, them unionizing. And Morocco's going to be very angry because the West African Union is going to formally annex the Western Sahara, along with the Ivory Coast, Ghana, and whilst in the process, Nigeria invades Benin because they say, you shouldn't get that big, I get to be big. But they get to make Togo to go first. Oh god, that's a lot of talking. But what's going to happen from here? It's just going to be a very angry Morocco and very strong neighbors. With the Middle East gone, all of these Islamic North African Islamic republics are not going to have much of a choice. Arabia's gone, and that was the main kind of center point. But now North Africa has to make themselves the center point, and this is how they're going to do it. By uniting. There have been ideas like this in the past with Libya, Egypt, and Syria that I found out about, but this is the first huge union. Morocco has a choice here. Be invaded by this new Islamic North Africa, be partitioned with the Western African Republic, or be attacked and colonized by the EU. They decide that they are very mad and they blow themselves up. Obviously, they don't do this, and even if they did, that would probably be even worse for their people. But they are just sad here. They can't do anything. Honestly, their best shot is probably to go with the EU, so that's what I'm going to have them do. If they went with these guys, most of them hate them. Well, especially over here, they might hate them. And if they go over here, then these guys hate them. And if you go up here, then these guys are probably going to hate you. And also these guys, because you fought a war against them. But they don't care, because the EU is currently the best of those countries, the best of the options, who's going to give you the best, amount of autonomy. As for Central Africa, well, the Congo would have fallen apart ages ago, but sadly for me, I don't know enough about the rebel groups in the Congo, so I wouldn't know how to split them up. That means I'm not going to do it, but the point is they most likely would have fallen apart from here. Honestly, I think I'm going to stop the video here, but the main point I'm putting across is the world would not survive without Asia. The USA would have to take either upon themselves a lot of responsibility. They already are kind of the world police force in real life. But here, the West would come out on top in the end with China and Russia gone, along with Iran, North Korea, any of the other enemies that they have, but even the US wouldn't be able to rejoice. Anyways, I do hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you all next time. Bye.